I was completely wrong. Oh my god, guys. Wow. Okay. I was completely and utterly wrong about the ending, which does not happen very often. I'm usually pretty good at guessing shit. But I was completely wrong for once. And I'm really happy about it, actually. Like, genuinely surprised and happy about it. So, no, let's just get straight into it, honestly. We're here to talk about Odd Taxi, episode 13 today. The final. And let's get straight into it, seriously. Oh boy, where do I begin? So, our episode begins right where it left off, actually, where Odokawa was being chased by Yano throughout the entire town. And we kind of get the perspective of all the characters that have been introduced throughout the series. You know, they're all doing their own things. They're all around the city doing their own things, but they all have one thing in common. They're all by the water right now, and they're all thinking about their experiences throughout the show. And Odokawa is completely freaking out, getting chased by Yano. And we see Goroki's actually chasing after him. And he's got the journal that was mentioned in our previous episode before. And the journal's crazy. The journal's absolutely crazy and completely busts open the door of our series. So let's start talking about it a bit. Odokawa's personal journal that he's been filling out his life since he got hurt. And it's incredibly revealing. He reveals that, he's always loved animals, ever since he was a kid. He always loved animals his whole life. And we get a little bit into his family situation, that his mother was basically very abusive towards him. She never really took care of him. She always just sat around crying and eating the whole time. Never really cared about him. And his father was never home. And when he was home, he'd always get blackout drunk. And they were abusive towards him. They didn't treat him well. They always outcasted him. But his father bought him an animal encyclopedia one day, and he loved reading it. He loved animals. Now, at his school, actually, the kids were always so mean to him. They always made fun of him because he was a fat kid, so he always got made fun of. He always got put down. He was never good at sports, and the teachers would never help him. But his love for animals kept him going. They called him a walrus. You see, being around people himself always made him anxious, always made him feel on edge, like something was wrong there. And that's why he loved animals so much, because he could regress back into that, I guess you could say. Every time he would cry about his situation, his classmates would always tease him more and more, and even hit him in some instances. And every time he kept thinking to himself, he wished he was a walrus instead. Pretty crazy. Now, the reason his mother was always so upset was because his father never came home because he was cheating on her the whole time, and she'd always take it out on him. So he had a terrible life, but every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, his father would take him out actually for a drive. And this is what gave way to his love of cars in a way. That every once in a while, he'd take him out for a drive in a car, and they would just go and explore. But he always knew that every time his father did that, he was going to go see his mistress, and he used him as an excuse. And every time he did that, he would drop Odokawa off at the zoo. And his love of animals intensified. He was never lonely being dropped off there, even though he was all alone. He was left there by himself while his father went and cheated. And every time he was there, he'd always look at the walruses, They would look goofy and they'd be fat just like him. He kind of felt a kinship to them. And as we're going through this story, we actually get a bunch of different stories going on in the background. We see the Homo sapiens loser bracket, where they did not win, they lost. They got beat out. We see Yano's perspective as he's chasing him throughout the city, as more police officers actually get added into the mix because they think that the car they stole is an actual officer, so they jump on. Now Odokawa's got like 30 cars following him. And we just see everything going on all at once. We see Goriki calling Shirakawa, asking what's going on. Or she's calling him. And he says he's going after Odokawa, and she begs him to take her with him. We see Little Damon and Big Damon chasing down Yano and all them. We see Taichi sitting on the riverbank figuring out what he's going to do. We see every member of Mystery Kiss actually around the harbor, not together, but we see Ichimura, we see Ruri, Nikaido, and we see, what was her name? Sakura. We see all of them looking off into the distance. And this whole time, we even see Kikihana and Takana just going there. Takana's thinking of killing himself, jumping off a bridge. Kikihana's sitting there thinking about everything that's happening. And that's when it happens. Odokawa is on a dead-end bridge being chased by Yano. And all at once, everything stops. Because he flies off the bridge, money coming out of his trunk, and every character we've seen throughout the whole series looks up and is paying attention to Odokawa as his car soars through the air and plunges into the water. And it's a crazy scene. Odokawa has a flashback to his mother because we realize in this scene that this is what his mother did years ago. We go back to the flashback with him talking through his notebook, saying how there was one night where my mother put my passed out drunk father in the back seat of the car and me in the car. And we went for a night drive. She looked pissed off, but he was in a good mood. He was happy all of a sudden. Because every time his father would take him out in the car for those rare occurrences, she was never with them. But this moment, they were all together, and he was happy. And we all know how that turns out. She killed the father and herself and attempted to kill Odokawa. And it flashes back to this scene where Odokawa's in there and he's drowning. So Shirakawa actually jumps in there and saves him, pulls him out of the car. And this is where we get our big reveal. This is where we get our huge reveal of the series. Everyone's not animals. Everyone is not animals. It was all in Odokawa's mind. Like, everyone is a human. Everyone is actually a human in the series. Odokawa actually has a disorder called visual agnosia. I had to look on that one, guys. Sorry if I butchered that. But it's where he can't process what he's seeing, so his mind kind of plays tricks on him the whole time. So, when he got hurt years ago, they brought him out of the car and into a hospital. He woke up in a hospital bed, and everyone around him seemed like an animal. His mind made him believe that, oh, everyone around me is an animal. I've turned into a walrus. And it's revealed that Dobu's boss this whole time was the one that actually saved him years ago. Which is crazy to think about, but that is something I did kind of figure out in our last episode when I saw that keychain. That he saves these kids that are abandoned in these accidents. And he saves them. And Odokawa wakes up in his hospital bed in real time, and we see Goriki and Shirakawa, and they're humans. We see them as humans, and Odokawa is a human. And that was a crazy reveal, guys. I was not expecting that. I had my ideas, but I was not expecting that. That is insane to me. We see Dobu waking up in the hospital bed, too, as a human, and he looks goofy as hell. The humans look goofy as hell in this show. But I love this twist. It's great. And Little Damon comes in to tell him, hey, you're going down, man. We're arresting you right here and now. I just wanted to let you know that. And he even said, yeah, I got to arrest my brother too, but it's because you guys are evil. And that's just what I have to do as a police officer. We see Odokawa in his hospital bed with Shirakawa there with him. And we see on the news that Nikaido got arrested for basically a murder, for trying to cover up a murder. She got arrested, Yamamoto got arrested, and so did Yano and his goons, and they look goofy as humans. And it's just crazy. Everything's coming to a head. And Goriki actually comes in with Amai. And Amai actually wanted to thank Odokawa, so he gives him all this money. He gives him a lot of the money that the cops were able to recover. And Odokawa doesn't really know what to do with it. So as Odokawa is released from the hospital, he actually goes and meets with Dobu's boss and all them. And we see his human form. And instead of like reprimanding him, yelling at him, he says, thank you. You've done some horrible things to people. And you've definitely ruined some people's lives. But you saved so many more. So he goes there and heartfelt thanks him. And actually gives him the money. Saying, if you can use this to help more kids like me, then it's all worth it in the end. And he thanks him in that instance. And here's where we get the craziest thing to me that even I was like, no fucking way. Two things, actually. Before I get to that, I want to mention that we finally find out what's in that closet. And it was a cat the whole time. Meaning that in his mind, we weren't technically lied to. She really was in the closet the whole time. The show technically misled us, but they didn't at the same time. It was really her, but she was just a cat. And the crazy reveal is that we get Sakura, the member who they got to replace Mitsuya, Yuri. We get the reveal that she's the one that murdered her. Really gruesomely. She strangled her with a rope. As she's telling the story to her mother, she's like, yeah, it was frustrating, when they didn't pick me for the audition. I didn't know what I was going to do, but they just so happened to have someone drop out, and I was able to take their place. And it's showing her strangling her in cold blood. Her eyes like completely empty and dead. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? She strangled her, took her place, and the last thing she says to her mother is that, oh, I need to go find that taxi driver that I saw that took me there that night. So I'm going to hang up on you now. Oh, and I kind of hope someone else drops out of the group. Maybe I want to go to solo act. Meaning she's going to kill someone else again. And our final scene of the show is her getting into Odokawa's taxi. And I'm just sitting here like, what does that mean? Is she going to kill him too? And that's just crazy to me that it was her the whole time. That was my theory that I thought of in my last episode. That who the real killer is. Oh, before I forget to mention actually, it's revealed that the person that shot Dobu at the pier that one night was actually Little Damon. It was actually him that shot him. Which is kind of crazy. I wanted to mention that, but what does this ending mean? Like, I know they're making a movie for Odd Taxi, Out of the Woods. I've heard they're doing that. That's one reason I wanted to do the series to begin with. But is the movie a continuation? Is it like the show condensed into a movie? Like, what is it? This ending is crazy, and I don't know what it means going forward. It's wild, but guys, this show is a fucking train ride all the way through. A roller coaster, like, good lord. I loved it. It was great. What a great ending. But what an ambiguous ending, too. To me, it feels like they left it open intentionally in case they wanted to come back to it, but I don't think they should. I think this is a pretty good cut and close case. Unless the movie is a continuation and we end it there. But, guys, this series was crazy. I'm so glad I was able to bring it to you guys. I might have been all over the place with this review, guys, but this was crazy. And I've got a lot going on today, too. I apologize for that. But, guys, this was great. I so recommend this series to anyone who maybe just catches this and hasn't watched the previous videos of mine. I recommend this series wholeheartedly. But guys, you let me know what you thought about this crazy-ass ending. That they're not even animals. That they're really people. That Odokawa just had like a mental disorder the whole time. Like, this is some taxi. This is some like taxi driver shit. Literally. Or some Joker stuff, So you guys let me know what you thought. And just, wow. I think that'll be it for this, guys. Odd Taxi was a crazy ride, and I loved it the whole time. So I hope you guys have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, just deuces and have a blessed day. And remember, you're not animals, you're people.